Hello, welcome back. How is you all? Beard update, yeah, it's going to have to go soon. I keep getting marmalade stuck in it. Right, okay, as you can see, I've got the BBC Micro, the behemoth, out on the desk there. And I've criminally sort of like neglected it the last few months really, because it's a great machine, it's got some great games on it. Atic Atac. Now this is about the third video that I've done over the course of the channel on a game that I'm not actually a massive fan of, although the Spectrum iteration. What do you want? What? Hello Yoda. How are you? You good boy, hey? Yes you are. What was I saying? Even though it ranks very highly on a lot of people's favourite Spectrum games of all time list. I've covered it a couple of times, like I said before. When I do the Spectrum version of this, I'm going to be using Spectaculator purely so I can use the version of it that has redefinable keys, because on the original version I just can't play it at all with keys because I'm hopeless. But it was only ever released on the Spectrum and the BBC Micro. I don't believe there were any other versions of it released back then. There's not an Amstrad version, not an MSX version, and up until recently, i.e. the last couple of months, there wasn't a version on the Commodore 64, and I showed you a video a couple of months ago of the absolutely stunning conversion that's been made for that. So the purpose of this is to compare those three versions together and see what's different, what the similarities and weaknesses, similarities and differences, strengths and weaknesses of each particular version are. Now the BBC Micro is going to go first, as you can see, because it's on the desk. Then we'll have the Spectrum, and then we'll finish up with the new kid on the block, Commodore 64 version. And I'm just interested to hear everyone's thoughts and opinions, etc. Okay, I'm just watching my cat out in the garden there. He's hunting. He's got his eye. He's sitting on top of the little sort of shed thing we've got, and he's got his eye on the tree just on the other side of the neighbour's fence where there are some birds. He's not been successful yet. I don't particularly want him to be successful now because I don't particularly fancy dead birds all over the place. Right, okay, let's get into it. Okay, here we are with the BBC Micro version of Atic Atac from Ultimate Play the Game, or ACG as it was back then, 1983, so 37 years old. As with the other versions, you play as the Knight, Wizard or Serf. One can go through barrels, one can go through grandfather clocks, and the other ones can go through bookcases. I can never remember which order is which. You have to escape the castle by finding 3 pieces of the ACG key and then putting them all together. You have to collect various keys and bits and pieces in order to go through various doors. Everything's color coded. Right, well, who should we be? Should we be the wizard? We'll be the wizard. All right, okay. Right, let's go. Now, I love the noisiness of the BBC. It's hugely loud. Okay, you see we've got these lovely chunky sort of BBC style graphics. And I just got to remember what the keys are. Right, so there's the... right, I've got the green key already, so I can now go through green coloured doors. Oh dear. Down into the dungeons. Again, so like lovely and vivid, sort of bright, blocky. Oh dear, bright, blocky colours on the BBC. Now, no, the wizard can't go through the barrels. I haven't got the blue key. Oh dear, this ain't going well. So the key layout on the BBC Micro is a bit awkward to say the least. K and M for up and down, left and right for oh no, I want K like that as well. Oh dear, left and right are Z and X. Shift is for fire and space is to pick up, and it's a little bit a little bit non-intuitive, if you know what I mean. And I've always sort of struggled with this, but it's a really good game. So coming from someone who doesn't actually like the game that much, you know, if you were a BBC Micro owner back in the day, did you own this? You can see the chicken on the right hand side denotes your health, which you can regenerate by collecting food. Come on, door, open it up. I'm stuck. And in each of the videos that I've done on Atic Atac, you will have noticed I have not got a clue how to play the game, where to go, what to do, etc, etc, and people manage to speed run their way through this thing in a matter of minutes. That's never going to happen to Baz, but hey ho, what I lack in gameplay and skill I make up for in enthusiasm, I hope. So let's go this way. Oh, I think this is the way I went last time, and we all saw how that ended up. Oh, bit of glitch in there. I've got to find a key from somewhere. Right, so the knight can go through the grandfather clocks. Some more sort of glitches there. Oh, let me out, you bugger. Lovely sound effects on the BBC Micro version. Oh, and it runs at a really nice pace as well, which is good. Hang on, I've been here, haven't I? Yes, Baz. Ah! Well, there we go. That was just a very, very quick look at Atic Atac on the BBC Micro. Let's move on now and show the Spectrum version. Okay, welcome back. Here we are, the ZX Spectrum version. Like I've said before, this likely appears on many people's favourite all-time ever Spectrum game list, but not mine. I can appreciate its appeal, but could never work out what to do on it. Now, like I said, this is a hack from a couple of years ago. There is a link in the description box below if you want to download this version to my previous video where I first reviewed this. Right, let's define our keys. So we'll have O, P, Q, A, space, M, H and G. Yeah, we want to use those keys, and we'll be the surf this time. Now, in contrast to the rather clunky, chunky, gaudy-looking BBC Micro graphics, you can see the Spectrum ones are a lot cleaner. And despite the specky's problems with colour clash, which manifest themselves from time to time in Atic Atac, it's as just there. It's still a really nice-looking game. And I love the sort of definition and character that you can see in the sort of sprite of the surf there. Not just the surf, also the sort of wizard and the knight. Oh dear, I'm not having much joy trying to find any keys here, am I? And the sort of clip-cloppy sound and the sound effects in general on the Spectrum version are really nice. Bearing in mind this is one of the earlier Specky games to have been released. Way back in 1983. We'll see ACG became Ultimate, became Rare. And we all know Rare. Oh, pick it up, you swine. Oh, there we go. Right, so there's the green key. Surf, of course, can go through the barrels, which I've said before years and years ago. I always thought they were mirrors. But then I am stupid. Ah, right, okay, here we go. So are you or are you not an Atic Atac fan? Oh. And kudos to all those people who can complete this in about 5 minutes. I'll never manage to get anywhere close. Oh, you can only carry 3 items at a time. And you can see there's 4 different colour keys to get: red, yellow, green and blue. So there's a bit of there's a few sort of tactics required. Oh yeah, I can go through that. Let's go this way. Scooby, where I'm going. What I'm doing. Oh, there's the blue. Oh. Oh, pick them up, you sod. There we go. Oh! Forgot about the various monsters. I am hopelessly lost now. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of the Spectrum version of Atic Atac. So what we'll do is we'll close this down now and we'll move on to the very recent release of the Commodore 64 version, which came out earlier this year. So let's get rid of that. Okay, right, here we go. The very, very recent Commodore 64 release of Atic Atac. 37 years after the BBC Micro and ZX Spectrum versions came out, which we've just seen. Link to my original video in the description below, so you can see where to download this from if you want to try this out. Lovely rendition of the loading screen there. Let's just take a picture of that because that can be the thumbnail. And let's get into it with a press of the joystick button. Now you can see it's a different layout to the menu screen is different layout to the other 2 versions that we've seen. No keyboard options, etc. But I just want to draw your attention firstly. Let me just zoom in to the wonderful character that's been included in the wonderful detail that's been included in the characters of the Knight, Wizard and Serf. With just a left and right scroll, you can select whichever one you want. And they really are lovely. And you're going to see, as I get into the game, what a wonderful conversion this is. Now, like I said, this was released a couple of years ago to universal acclaim, basically. And it's not just a lazy remake. This is fantastic. Like I said, even though I'm not a huge fan of the game, there's so much character and excellence in the design of everything. You can see so much detail in the character, the main characters, etc., and all the baddies and villains, and the use of colour on it is great. The sound is great. It controls really well. Otherwise, it is just, I say that with inverted commas, Atic Atac. It's sort of... Oh! You see why I always prefer to use keys. Oh dear. It's just great. And if you've yet to play this on the Commodore 64, even if, you know, please download it and give it a go, because it's an excellent example of modern day homebrew programming for a retro computer system. And had this come out back in the day, it would have been regarded, I think, as the ultimate excuse the pun, version of the game, because it really is great. You know, can't really sort of deny the obvious, even if you're a Specky fanboy like me. If you are an Atic Atac aficionado fanboy, the spec. Oh, I need that, don't I? That's one of the key bits. Then I'd be interested to see what you make of this version, and I would invite you to download it and give it a play, because it is excellent, as can be seen. The fact that I'm not doing it much justice at all is neither here nor there, really. This is, after all, just a comparison video. He dead. He dead. Oh, I've already been that way, like, oh, let's get back out there. Yeah, everything about this is excellent. Now, I said in my, I think I said in the BBC segment, I wonder why this game didn't appear on more systems. Amstrad MSX and the Commodore 64 at the time. You know, if ever there was a cash cow, this game is it. Right, so basically, there we have the Commodore 64 version, the Spectrum version, and the BBC Micro versions of Night Lord. No, we don't. It's Atic Atac, you pillock baz. Right, okay, let's go to the outro. Okay, so there we have it. 3 different versions of the same classic game. One, of course, the Commodore 64 version being a very, very recent release. Download link below. Download link, well, link to my previous video for both the Commodore 64 version and the redefinable keys mod for the Spectrum version in the description box below if you want to give either of those a go. Yeah, all versions of that game are fun. The BBC Micro has those wonderful, chunky, colourful, gaudy graphics that I really, really like, and when done well, they are really, really nice. Bit of a loud game, can't be helped because of the internal speaker there. The Spectrum version is the version most people would know and love. Like I've said before, I'm not a huge Atic Atac fan, but I do appreciate the fact that many, many people have it as one of their favourite games of all time and still revisit it on an almost daily basis in modern times. The Commodore 64 version is just, like I said in its segment, if it had been released back in the day, it would be classed as the definitive version, because everything about its design, it's been stripped down and built back up. Not just a straightforward, lazy conversion, but you could see the amount of detail and character in the graphics. Wonderfully colourful, really well defined. Played just as well as the other versions, which is important. But those extra bells and whistles that have been added to it really, really make that game much, much better. I still didn't have a clue what I was bloody doing in it, mind, but never mind. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. Anyway, I hope you're all continuing to stay well and sane in these continuing days of lockdown. I hope everyone around you is safe and well as well. If you like the video, please let me know. If you wish to subscribe, please do so. And if you do subscribe, please take the time to join in with the conversation, because that's what it's all about. I'm sorry, Atic Atac fans, that was just me wandering around the dungeon, just not having a clue what I was doing. Can't help that. All right, take care. Goodbye.